Welcome back, Out of Body Explorers. I am back with Mary Beaver, my special guest. We haven't talked in a while, and I was wondering if I could get you can give yourself I guess, a Reader's Digest version of yourself, and we're going to talk right away on the topics of the Great Awakening. So, welcome back, Mary. It's nice to have you back. How are
Thanks.
you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, good, good. Tell me what's a little background for some people who don't know who you are. If you can talk about that real quick, and then we'll get right on to the topic of this wonderful awakening that everybody's a little stressed out about.
Okay. So I'm from I started doing podcasts a little over 2 years ago to just kind of bring people for I guess, a minor deprogramming um, with the Super Soldier program because I was in the Delta Force programming. I do come from the esoteric Illuminati families. I never took an oath, and my life's been pretty much terrible because of it, but my soul is saved, so yay. And I was chosen as many to come out and let everybody know kind of what's going on, what we're witnessing, and how to protect yourselves and not panic and stuff like that during, I guess, all the changes. So,
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the people are just stressed and angry, and and I'm with high school children, so the adults are having
right,
a stressful time, so it's affecting them also.
right.
So yeah, so let's talk about what has been. I mean, I could believe me, I have notes after notes to ask you a million questions. So if you're ever ready for that, since you and I talk for hours about people would think we were nuts about the questions I ask and the things that you tell me. I'm like, are you channeling these things? I always want to know because it's really your
I
vibration
do,
just gets me
yeah.
like boom when I talk to you. It's like amazing. But okay, so what's going on this week that everybody's talking about? And I'm also reposting some of these April 8th things, which is very interesting because all the dates on the 8th have been very volatile, or at least some awakening news comes out on each month on
Yeah.
the 8th. So that's
So,
interesting.
yeah. So what that is, first I want to let you guys know that I do have a federal badge on. It does not mean that I work for the feds or anything like that, so don't assume anything. They are contracted with me to do a lot of the exposures because at first I refused to do the exposures because usually people would end up dead, right? So I'm like, yeah, unless I'm given any kind of protection, I'm not talking about it. So if you ever see me wearing this badge, it's just for my protection and my family's protection and that of the protection of the people that I'm doing this with. So I do not work for the secret governments or anything like that. It just keeps me and my children safe. So with that being said, with the solar eclipse, so this isn't really a solar eclipse. It is a shift in energies. So the solar eclipse usually has to do with the moon and the sun covering each other, but you have six, seven, eight, nine somewhat planets involved. So there's six planets, and then you have the yellow sun, the moon, and the dark sun. So all aligning. So this is the dark sun is a healing sun. It is your highest level of alchemy. That's why the Luciferians and stuff do their sacrifices at night so they can pull the strongest energies so that they can harness whatever it is they're doing to the full max. So my evaluation of what is happening and the reason the government is panicking is because this is going to probably bring a lot of people into their healing form. I mean, they've even locked down prisons and stuff like that, so no inmates can go outside. It's a little extreme of what's about going on. So when they're panicking, you should probably do the opposite, right? Go outside. Watch if you have pets, watch your pets. They're going to tell you whether it's safe or not. If you're not supposed to go outside and your cat or your dog are like tripping you while you go to the door, stay inside. If they're trying to let you out, because there's some people that can't go outside because you're not a full-blood angelic human. You might be a hybrid, so it might be harmful to you. But if you are, a full-blooded, go outside. If your dog or your cat or your bird, whatever, the animals know. Okay, they're the ones that are going to tell you whether it's safe or not. So if you're an angelic human and belong to the planet, this is how you're going to heal yourself. because the two suns and the moon together is the trinity of the Christ consciousness. Remember the two suns? The third one is on
Hmm.
the planet. So it's a healing wave of energy, but it can be harmful to the ones that don't belong here. So that might be the scare. I mean, if the military can be out in it, so can you. Just an
Mm.
FYI. That's my thoughts on the whole thing. It's nothing to panic over. Just, watch what your animals are doing. If the
Yeah.
horses are hiding, if the cows are hiding under trees, stay inside.
Yeah, so I didn't do these two videos. I've been having a lot of out-of-body experiences of looking at the weather going to hurricanes and then a tornado. And I remember the animals coming out of the forest. And I was like, oh my gosh. And one came right into my house and just was like, stay with me. And then I woke up.
Right.
So yeah, and that's been in the last, I would say, month, and I keep saying, should I send a video out like that? Because I don't want people to panic either. So I
Right.
believe that's a timeline, and I'm not choosing that timeline, and I've already been to that timeline. So that's why I'm like, okay. And I obviously I'm in with my prayers, so that's a big thing. But that's a good confirmation for me today.
Right. So yeah, go sunbathe in the energy if you're allowed to.
Yeah.
If you don't
Fill
belong
it
to
you
the
out.
earth, it can be painful. So again, just watch your animals. Your animals are there to protect you. They're guardians. And if you're a hybrid or you're part of the invader race or the occupation races, you may have to stay inside. We don't know. So let your animals guide you. If
Mm.
they're okay with you going outside or they're trying to get you outside, go outside. If you're not, then stay inside. That's just how that works out.
Yeah, because I'm seeing a lot of news in New York that they're trying to keep the kids inside April
Mm.
8th. Like they're making that, like I'm seeing like a lot of the news report. I haven't heard anything in here, although my school just made me sit inside. So that's an interesting thing that you're saying.
Right?
Yes, that's
You're like, who has
wow.
a working dog at home? Bring your dog.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. You're making me think. Ooh,
Right?
good to know. So, what else is going on though, with any of these documents that we talked about last week, you and I privately? Is there any news to that? That's the events.
So I did turn in my book of life. So previously, for those that don't know, back April of last year, I was approached by some very high level Templar priests with the master treasury exit document. 2 to 3 weeks before that, I was given the master straw man or your birth certificate. Says that some people don't know the straw man. The straw man is based off of your birth certificate. That is the extra person that they prosecute. So just Google those phrases again if you're not. I'm more of an advanced person to hear. So we got backlash on somebody's page because nobody knew what these terms were. So just look them up. They're everywhere now. And I put together a master exit book, and then found out it was later my book of life. So I'm getting out of the book of the dead. And that's what everybody else is in because they consider us dead, lost at sea, lost in space, all that stuff so that they can control your estates and your inheritances. So I turned that in, or I mailed it out on the 13th of last month, or no, this month.
Yeah,
And
March
it
March
was,
13th.
yeah, March 13th. And then
Mm-hmm.
they were all arrived on the 15th. Now I'm in California. Most of this stuff was going on the East Coast. So it's shocking to have found it arrived 2 days later. One of them was rejected. I'm guessing they paid the postal service off, wink, wink, uh,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
lose the documents. So yeah, we're gonna call those guys out. Or I am. I'm not afraid of the banks. And then so they lost that one, strangely. The other two, the one for the chief and the real chief and commander, I'm not going to put names out there, received theirs on the 15th, and then the postal service for DC, I guess they have one big post, pickup. It was received on the 15th, but they picked it up on the 18th. So everybody is in review of the documents except for the Bank of New York. Go figure.
Yeah. When I go back to
um,
New York, I should have hand delivered that stupid thing. you know?
right.
Yeah.
So Thursday, I got a call from a general, and um, It was a good call. It started off a little rough and edgy, but it ended really well. And Thursday, or the next day, Friday morning, I was introduced to somebody from the U.S. Department of, oh gosh, what is it? Of the Interior. There it is, of the Interior. So this is, I'm guessing, where they handle the straw man and they close out your accounts. I don't know what's going to happen. I have an appointment later this week, and I'm looking forward to it. I feel really confident about it, and hopefully, I can get in front of some important people and help turn this whole war around, and maybe not even go into it.
Yeah, so I don't think people really understand about claiming your sovereignty. And I got very lucky.
Right.
I'm kind of doing a plug right now with the website, or actually, the guy's name is Brandon Joe Williams, and researched that, did all of his 40 videos. They're for free. So I learned a lot, but I did a lot of work with it. And who's my best student with me, now my teacher, pretty much, my sister. I mean, we just ripped this thing apart, and that's like a very
Right.
important thing to get a grasp of it. So when you're telling me these things, I already understand it, because it's a lot of work doing this sovereignty paper. And his
Right.
website is onestupidfuck.com, and I hate to even say it like that, but he basically thinks that
That's the
we're
name,
dumb.
right?
Yeah, because we're pretty dumb to
Right.
be volunteering our money to taxes and being it's
Right.
into the slave system, when it should be just really God's law. And I don't think people understand that. And that's why it's important to really do the work and to know those terms, because now what you and I talk about, it doesn't make sense to some people because we are so mind manipulated. And now that's
Right.
why these papers are very, very important. So I'm very blessed to have you in my life, just because, we could be crazy talking, but this
Right.
is actually amazing. Yeah, yeah. It's always a confirmation, like I said, just like that little out of body I had with all the weather, these weather wars where I saw the animals coming out, and I'm like, I don't have any pets anymore. I haven't had one in 20 years.
Right.
So for them to come and talk to me is huge, but I'm connected to a lot of friends with the animals, so I'll get to relay this message. But so on, I'm sorry to cut you off with that.
Oh
But
no,
so
you're fine.
now, which is interesting, because there were a couple of words, or the occupators, because remember I asked you, like, what is that?
Occupation.
The occupations.
Mhm.
And it's funny because that song came out, which I'll leave on the bottom. One
I
of my
know.
friends
Yeah, leave that in the
sends me,
comments.
one of my friends send me the Karen Carpenter. I'm like, what? I'm like, how could this person sing this song? And then they
Right. I
say,
love the
they,
Carpenters. I've never
I
heard that
know.
song.
And then everybody said that. They're like, we never heard of it. And now that person that I know is a contactee also. So I'd love to see if I can get her to, also be on here. But everybody's afraid because, we're teachers and all that stuff. So that, I guess they could say that we're not really, our whole brain is not all there. But a couple other things that you did run over. So I don't know if you want to talk about it, because, that you're like one of the fourth people demanding that piece, because they end up saying that there were four people that sent documents into. So,
Right. And I don't know who those people are. And I explained that to the general. I was like, I don't know, if these are the other heirs. I don't know the other heirs. I don't know where they're at. I don't communicate with them. It could just be other people, rallying up, trying, to do whatever. But I came in with a different approach, and again, I'm guided by the heavens. And I know that sounds weird to people, but when I think about it, it's weird to me that you guys are not connected to the heaven. So there's a whole lot of weirdness going back and forth because we're supposed to be connected to the heavens. But
mhm.
people have forgotten that over time. But it's not anybody's fault. So again, when people are like, "Oh, she's crazy because she's talking like she can speak to the heavens," I can in a different way, and you can too. You just have to remember how. Because again, to me, it's weird that nobody else can. So, and I do get a lot of these high-level Illuminati members and stuff like that, and they always ask me the same thing: "What's going to happen to my soul?" And I'm like, "Well, what have you been doing?" I mean, what? You shouldn't even have to ask that question. If you're doing bad stuff, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So that's good, because
um,
I was asking, like, so that's what I always answer back to people. I'm like, no, I'm like, God said this, and people are like, what? Yeah, well, if you do your work on that too, you meditate, and I mean, mine's through like the dream state itself, but my meditations are exactly the same thing as if I go to sleep. So I'm in
right,
constant, connection in that sense, and maybe not as a level at you're at, but as I do my readings, there is constant connection to my higher self, and that's like a big part of me and my channels. So my other thing is, if you can explain, because I didn't know the occupation group you said, and then the Invader Races, because it was interesting because that song sounded like they're okay with the occupators coming in. And I was like,
Right.
how is she singing that, you know? And like I said,
Right. That
I'll
was
leave it in the
interesting.
description, and it sounds really angelic, but I felt it was a little twisted. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And so I just found out about the occupation race as well. So it was, I guess we have the invader races that are obviously infiltrating not just our world but our countries and all that stuff. So we know about them to the full extent, but the occupation, and this is going to sound kind of funny, the occupation was actually invited here. So they were brought in as a way and a means to help with the invader races that were wreaking havoc, but they decided that to stay, and so they're occupying. And we do that too. When we go, when a country asks for the help of America, we go in and, we invade pretty much. And we help out, but we don't leave. So that's what the occupation did, and they're still doing it. So I don't know exactly when they got here. I'm gonna guess about 2 million years ago, because they kind of had the same problem all these invader races did, and that was they had no home. They destroyed it all. Whatever wickedness was in their galaxy, it's all been destroyed. But a lot of the invader races and the occupations, they've been doing this for about 1 billion years. So I brought up the. And again, this was downloaded from the heavens. It wasn't something that I knew. But they're galaxies, and we have to remember our bodies can self-heal, our world can self-heal, so why wouldn't their quadrants heal? You know what I mean? They've been
Yeah.
gone 1 billion years, and galaxies pop up all the time. So the heavens showed me that their homes are restored. They're not the same planets they were, but they're new ones. It's it's the energy around those quadrants, those galaxies. It always can restore itself. So they can now go home. They have a home to go to. So we don't actually have to constantly be in war with people, because I understand where they're coming from. Anybody who's been homeless, especially with children, uh, you have that fear of, like, you don't have anything, you have nowhere to go, and then there's these little people rely on you, and so this has been the whole Star Wars adventure forever, right? We watch the movies and we see
Mm-hmm.
that if they're resistant and don't give in, they blow up the planet, right? How dare
Mm-hmm.
you?
Yeah.
So it kind of, it starts to make sense as you go through all this stuff and you start to do the process of the book of life. You start to remember, and you do open up your frequencies to certain spiritual entities. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, oh, I'm already there, I'm already angelic, I'm already spiritual. Well, the new age stuff is a lie, and
Yeah,
you
I
can keep
agree.
saying that
Hmm. Yep,
if you
I
want.
completely agree. Because like I'll say something and they're like, "Oh no," and I never resonated with certain things when I would go to like these classes to learn. I go, "That's not true," and then I just broke
Right.
free and just did everything on my own. And I never was told anything about the higher self. I'm just like, no, I only talk to that person. I only talk to that person, and I didn't get that from anywhere. I just kept preaching it because that's what I knew of and what they told me. But you're right; it's very foofy poo poo like, and they don't get it because I think if this is a spiritual war, they still have to put their shields on, and they, you know
Right.
what I mean, they got their shields on, their boots, their swords, they still have to go out there and defend. And I think there's too many that aren't, and that's the problem,
Right.
like, yeah, you want to know it's a change. It's just, it's also being realistic. I keep saying, like, we have to be
Right.
here. you know?
And then, so at another point, when they told me like, hey, this was like the fourth demand letter, I was like, mine's not a demand letter. Mine is a, hey, how can we peacefully surrender this and figure something out? You know, there's always a solution to the problem. We just have to stop focusing on the damn problem and move forward to the solution. And
Yeah, because
that's why I was like, I don't know what they sent you. They may have sent like, hey, you don't belong here. You need to leave or we're going to kill you. So that automatically puts them in defense mode, right? If somebody's coming into your home and saying, "Oh, I live here now," and then you're like, "Get out of here before, something serious happens." Everybody is now on the fence. This is where the wars start. And honestly, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. The heavens and creation showed me that the gates are open. They we can bring in the arcs and take to take them home. The arcs belong here, but the arcs can also transport. Not everybody has to do like, oh, let's escape, Earth, and it doesn't have to be that way. But what does have to be, and I think they'll be in agreement, is everybody needs to do a book of life, because you can't take the book of the dead with you to these other worlds. That's how they keep getting destroyed. So
that's interesting.
everybody, yeah.
You said the heavens would like to offer an easy transition. And I
Yes.
love that line because that needs to be repeated back and forth. I was like, oh, that's like a t-shirt. The heavens would like to
Right.
offer an easy transition. Yeah, but it's true. You're right. I mean, like love equals love, it makes complete sense. And now you don't want to discuss anything about what else you talked about with the general? No, right? You're done
No,
with
not
it. Okay,
yet.
good. Good.
It's still in a delicate phase. I mean, there's some things we can talk about. It was just an offer.
Yeah.
It's not even my offer. It was like, this is what, I don't know. Again, each heir is given something different. There's 7 of us left. There was 10. And I don't know if they were threatening, them. I have no
Okay.
idea, but I listened to cues. Like, the voice was very strained. He was very defensive in the beginning. And then when I said, hey, you know what, this is what I'm bringing to the table. And
Right.
I feel that, I mean, you we really have to imagine. I mean, we don't have to do anything. We could sit here and say, "Oh, you're all going to die and if you don't leave," but that's not going to get
Right.
anybody anywhere, right? Yeah, we're angry. We did bad things. They did bad things. They ultimately did more bad things, but what were their circumstances that drove them to do that, right? Their galaxies were destroyed, their homes were destroyed, and were we really going to let these other things come in here and peacefully do whatever? Probably not. We probably tried to, and it just too much difference.
Hmm.
So you can't have another world occupying another world, you know, you know what I mean? Because it never ends in peace. It might be peaceful for a couple hundred years, but there's going to be issues because their world of government is different than our world of governments, and the two can never really get along. So the best thing to do was, let their worlds, recreate. Let them go back and um, it's time. And it can be peaceful. There's going to be some resistance. That's always a thing.
Hmm.
But we got to get over the past or we're never going to move forward. And we're at the end games. Everybody's right. If we want the war, let's go. I know where my
Yeah.
soul's going. Do you?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I keep
Everyone's
saying
like,
it.
"Oh, my creator this." Well, okay, you can love your creator, but if you didn't prove it on paper, if you didn't go into his kingdom, guess what? How does he know? You know? Think
Yeah.
about it. Did you openly give him that faith or did you stay in Lucifer's kingdom? There's a thing.
Mm.
The whole
Yeah.
world is under Lucifer's kingdom. You're using his money. You're using his resources. You're not in the angelic realm. None of us are. So,
Damn.
but
That's a.
that's what the true heir is. When you become the true heir, you go back into God's kingdom. These invader races and the occupation, they have their own situation and they are also heirs to their planets. And now they have planets to go home to. So
Mm.
that might alleviate a lot of stress with the transfer. Because if we try to kick these guys off, guess what? They're going to be somebody else's problem, which will then later be our problem again. So let's eliminate the problem altogether.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
explanation. Okay. So could you answer the? I have a slew of questions. If you make this, I guess, the last question, and I'll get you back on here again, because you have a lot of stuff you got to talk about, even
I,
if it's little stuff. Because you
right?
got to really. I mean, I get a kick out of talking to you because it makes my life like easier when I'm telling you I'm having these incredible out of body experiences, and they're dark too. So I want to remind people that I don't do it on purpose, and they definitely are pulling me into bad portals if I don't do my work. So that's
Right.
something that I think is important. But could you rephrase that amygdala in my
The
video?
medulla.
Yeah, the medulla. Okay. So Mary, in my last video with you months ago, in September it was, the
The
demigula,
Meg.
the medulla. Could you
Yes.
explain that to the audience exactly where that is, what its functions are, and how it's important in our life? So where, what, and how it's
So
important.
as we go through the ascension, and I know everybody knows about the ascension, but we're all being fed the wrong type of ascension. Again, even I was fooled by it. Now that I'm on the right path, it makes sense. And again, coming from the Illuminati families, I was afraid of the eyes, the all-seeing eyes, right? Because they're all Luciferian, satanic, secret societies, and there's a reason that they're that way. It's because that they are truth. So we do have five eyes into our consciousness. So that's what the ascension is about. For each level of consciousness you go up to, the first level of consciousness you want to connect to is your true north. So if you go into your phone, into your settings, and you click true north on the settings of your compass, and you face true north whenever you're struggling, whenever you just feel you want to connect, that's where your higher self is true north. Okay, don't listen to anybody else. Don't, if you're facing east, you're with the eastern stars. If you're facing west, you're with the warlocks. So just use your discernment. True north is where what is heaven. Who doesn't
Mm,
want to be connected there? Your soul is true north. Your oversoul, your avatar, your other whatever they are up there, and then you connect to the heavens, and that's kind of how I was able to connect to the heavens. And you're going to see it in the shape of a star at first, and then as you progress and grow, I eventually connected to the dark sun, which is the eye of darkness, so also known as the evil eye, but it's a healing eye. It's not a bad one. The Vatican renamed it evil eye so people would not pursue its healing abilities. You can actually heal yourself while being connected to the south, southern dark eye, or black eye, or evil eye.
mm,
So I'm only connected to two eyes, but you have the west and the east eye, and then your demegula is called your God eye. Okay, so this is a piece of spirituality that is centered in your brain. It does not actually show up unless you're under attack, and the reason being is because it secretes the energy from heaven, and that's what the whole process of the torture is about, so that they could drain your adrenochrome. So it's a tier, one tier from either creation or creator, because that child is being tortured. Does that make sense? So it's a tier from heaven. It's the purest form of energy from the gods. And that's what
mm.
gives these Luciferians longevity of life.
Oh, one tier. So, and those are
Hmm.
the, okay, so you covered all five eyes. One, right, the five eyes are section. Oh, so very interesting
I got a
because
hand.
what's, I know about the amygdala, and that sounded like the memory of something, except it's
Right.
demygdula, right?
The
Okay.
medulla, yeah.
The medulla. All right. So it's very similar to, I guess, some kind of memory that we've had in the past, except it's a real deep hidden one. I mean, that's how I could explain it at that point.
It
Is that?
is a deep hidden one. A lot of the parasites will go after it. That's more of like your more Down syndrome, because they're godlike energies. They're the most smartest beings on the planet, so that's why they get thrown into bodies that aren't equal to the soul.
Mm.
Yeah, so they could trap all that information into in a body, and then the government uses those people very unfairly. But I was part of one of those programs, unfortunately. That's how
Oh,
I know about
wow.
them. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no wonder, because like my special ed kids just like walk to me, talk to me. They're very, very interesting because I see them before I go to school, and I've had like moments with them at night. Like they're clearly talking,
Right.
so very interesting because I know they see the light on my head because they always attracted to me. And I couldn't understand that. Now it makes sense. I mean, because their vibration is definitely at a different vibration.
Right. Their IQ is
Yeah.
anywhere between 800 to 1,000.
Wow.
They
Wow.
just
That's
can't.
pretty amazing.
they're stuck between here and the cosmos pretty much because they're in the wrong body.
Wow.
And that was
Wow.
done on purpose, yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting. That's like in the, I think Netflix has the time travelers. They had a moment
Mhm.
with one of the individuals. That's one of the actresses. She ended up getting into a body like that, and they couldn't understand. But that's another show that I probably should
Right.
do a video on, because that was wild. Because I personally, I'm like, that's happening. You can do that. I mean, obviously, it's from Netflix. They're probably giving you some more information. But okay, so anyway, is there anything else? This is like around the half hour mark. Anything else you want to
Oh, yeah. So
talk
there was
about?
it was really funny. I was watching Jupiter Ascending again. Again, I have to watch that movie over and over again because
Me
the
too.
more
I'm gonna
you
do
get
that.
up into the consciousness, you're like, there's so much truth. And even with the forbidden knowledge, they actually put the real names and stuff in there. So there is three rulers over the galaxy. They they are that's their real name. They even have a company that does the Geno something, the Gen X. The youngest brother really named all of them, and I went into the corporations, and sure enough, those names are in there. I was like,
Really?
stop it, yeah.
That's when she touches the glass and she drops it, right? Mia Kunis, and
Yeah.
then he's like,
Yeah,
she drops it.
she's like, "What is this? Your sister was in one of the pools of this." And he was like, she's like, "What's it called?" And he's like, "Well, there's different names." And he goes through the names. So I wrote them
Oh
down and I went through them and I
wow!
looked them up in the, international businesses and it was like right
Oh
there.
wow!
Yeah, I was
Wow!
like, that's really crazy. So, and then, but the funny thing is because everybody's like, hey, we sold our planet for the technology, and something wasn't sitting right. Like when I was on my space ventures, right, the jumps and whatnot, we had like body armor, body suit that was totally genetically connected to us, right? So I keep thinking about that, and I was like, where did they get that? They couldn't have just designed that, right? And then I thought about the treasuries, and I was like, well, wait a minute. The treasuries are from Hanova, which is where heaven is, and they send down treasuries for each new species of life. So your individual gene code, when you're born here, God sends down specific treasures just for you. So as a soldier, mine would have been this, you know, golden armor of God, right? It literally grows around you. Sometimes it's in the form of a gem or a bracelet or something, and you just hit it to connect it, and then all of a sudden you're in this safety belt of armor, heavenly armor, right? So that's kind of what the treasures are. It's not the gold and the gems here on Earth. It's an angelic gold. It's based off of your DNA. Every planet is given one. So um, I had to think about how the technology works. So in the scene where Jupiter was with her, I guess the girl in the castle, right? You know those minions running around with the no hands, but their hands
Oh
are like
yeah!
hands or something? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Those are the AI robots. They're genetically created to protect the royal family,
Oh wow!
right? So here's the
Yeah.
twist. We have those here. Now, as the heirs, we're all down here in the mud, the bottom feeders, right? And all these elites have taken over our homes. They're occupying them.
Yeah.
And but they're genetically connected to us. All the technology on this planet is genetically connected to everybody. So when they approach you and say, "Oh, you have some special abilities. You're really smart." That's not what it is. You're genetically connected to the stuff that they need, to claim over
Yeah.
us. And you're the only one that can do it because you're the gene sequence to that technology. So what they did after they wiped our memories is they went and sold it back to us as if it was not ours. And they're like, give us the world and we'll give you this technology that we created out in space. No, you didn't. We created it here.
Yeah. It makes so much sense. And then what the other movie that actually is making this connection, that the AI in that scene is in the same thing is in Cloud Atlas. Have you seen that?
I
Cloud
haven't,
Atlas.
no.
Oh, I bought it years ago and I knew it was connected. I watched it once. I watched it again and I was ill. It's
Really?
exactly a Jupiter ascending. They show you
Hold on.
the Chinese group has a lot of the AI going through. They show you the harvesting there. They show you, like, of course, it's Tom Hanks. He's the same individual doing the same thing in all these other eras. So yeah, I know she was sticking it before. I'm like, yeah, I see it. So yeah, it's a very good movie to show you like how they return and the dimensions that they were involved in and how they still have that same karmic debt. And to me, that's how I see it because I'm waiting. You know how they used to say like you did this in lifetime and you did this, you murdered somebody, you gave life to somebody. Like I haven't seen me murder anybody yet, but I don't know where that is. But if you look at this
Or please don't.
movie, they all have the same karmic debt. So they either it's almost like they never solve it in each lifetime, and they keep
Right.
trying to figure it out. And then finally at the end, I'd like to say he does solve it, but yeah, it was definitely some movie to watch. Definitely a movie to watch because you'll be blown
Okay.
away. It's
Yeah.
it's part of it's like Jupiter Ascending. There's that
Right.
scene in the Chinese race. You're going to be like, oh my God, it's true because I've seen people that didn't have any souls and they're connected to like an AI. Like you'll have to see it. It's definitely a good movie to see and talk about because I think I'm going to do a video on that one because I think people need to start remembering some of their past lives so that they can get over this life.
Right.
So, but okay. So, Mary, thank you so much. I'd like to
Yeah.
make this a scheduled date so that we
Right.
always talk. So, we can give information. And, on last note, so on April 8th, what's your suggestion for the planet and the people?
Again, just face true north. Ask your higher self. Some people aren't going to be able to go out. That isn't a lie, because it can harm you if you don't belong to the earth. This is one of those earthly sequences where the planet alignments try to heal the earth and all the things on it. So
Mm,
it's just one of those things where it's like a power boost. So it can hurt, it can harm, or it can heal. So the ones that they don't want healed this might be the activation of the super soldiers. You have no idea.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely felt a shift this month. A lot of things
Yeah.
changed even at my job. So, and my big positive thing about me changing in this situation is that I'm going to have an opportunity at least to be consistent with you and discuss things that we need to
Right.
be laying out, like on YouTube or BitChute or whatever you need to get it out there. Because I think it's very important because this is that repeated cycle that's going on from those COVID years. And that's how I'm feeling everything because I got major downloads on 2020 and I feel like they're going to start coming back again because it's our time. But
It could be. There was another thing that I was told. So we have a clean slate, and what that kind of looks like is, remember back, I think it was last year sometime, they were talking about the what do you call it? The looking glass was
mm,
broken or something, and they couldn't access it. That wasn't what it was. Excuse me. The looking glass has nothing to look at right now because too many of the good guys and the bad guys were trying to infiltrate the opposition, right? So
mm,
haven't erased the access to it. They just erased the timelines. So there is no past and future right now. It's what we're doing, and the heavens can do that. So nobody knows who's doing what. It's just gonna naturally happen. So that's what I found out. There is no current timeline. Everything we're doing is going to come into 2083. If we don't succeed, 2083 will be doom and gloom. So,
wow.
yeah, so we're
Wow.
given a clean slate, which is rare, like super rare, but they needed people to stop using that technology. So right now, nobody can see in the looking glass because there's nothing to see.
Right,
That's
right.
why
Ah.
everybody's able to get away with stuff right now. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I felt like I've
yeah,
had like
both
a
good and
very,
bad. I'm just
yeah.
gonna let that go out there. Both good and bad.
Oh, good to know. Because yeah, I felt like my job was taking a lot of time, and I couldn't do my real deep meditations or my situations when
Right,
I go to sleep. And I was like, but I also know that my higher self protects me and doesn't let me do things because I don't ask to go places. I'm just like, where do you need me so I can help? That's how I actually do my thing because I don't want to be going with well, I do have intentions of the light, period. But it makes sense because I did feel like it was just we were at like a standstill.
right,
I didn't see anything forward. I didn't see anything back. I haven't really written in my log, which was rare. And now I'm back to just the weather wars that I've been seeing. So it's pretty much on the
right.
mark. But
I think this
okay,
is also a random way for them to try to bring in the one timeline. So we've pretty much closed most of them, but I think we're still like on 1 or 2 timelines that have to merge together, and I think they will eventually. But
Mm,
again, everybody's at not quite ground zero yet. I'm a fail safe to the planet, so if I have to bring ground zero, I have the authorization of the heavens to do it. And it doesn't mean everybody's going to die. It just means everybody's going to be at the same level. Nobody will be able to move forward. Nobody can do anything. And it's one of those things where if you can't negotiate and do something peacefully, then it's got to be forced. But again, nobody will die, and war can't break out. There is a good fail safe. Not all fail
mm.
safes end with a bunch of people dying.
Oh, that's good to know because there's some people are in panic and fear completely.
Right.
So, for me,
I
I'm
was
just
one of
like,
them. I'm
believe in
like,
God.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm just
right.
like, where's your faith? Like, I really like that's like a time, like a tested piece. If you don't have your faith, where is that faith? Like, if you're saying you really believe, then I believe. So I'm always
Well,
feeling
our
like,
souls
well,
have been trapped for so long, so we're like stuck on where do we go when we die? If everybody dies, who releases us from the soul traps? So I kind of
mm,
get that panic. Maybe your soul's freaking out because they don't want to go back into the box.
mm,
Who wants to go
yeah,
back into
yeah.
those boxes?
Wow, that's a good point here. But okay, so thank you so much, and
You're
we
welcome.
will definitely. I'd like to. I think it's important to break down some of your videos and these other video outlets that you had because
Okay.
I understand them a lot, but when I tell other people, they're just like a little off, and I'm like, no, 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 you should know this. But then it leads to
Right.
why they say this. So, and I broke down a lot of things. So I broke down my video too. So we will be. I'd like to have another time with you so we can answer those questions on my videos and other videos that
Yeah.
I even had questions, so that you can pretty much discuss that and people at least understand where you're coming from, or actually understand where you're coming from. All right.
Okay.
So thank you once again, Mary.
You're
I
welcome.
will definitely talk to you in the future because, we do talk a lot. And say hi to your children, and I will talk to you
I
then.
will.
So thank you. Press like and subscribe, and we will talk soon. Okay.
All right.